Let's talk World of Warcraft Legion, and what I might fear is the last expansion for World of Warcraft. For a very long time, or at least a couple of years, I was playing WoW, right up to around about February 2015, where I ran out of the money to keep my subscription going. And so, as a result, I just kind of drifted off and didn't really bother. I saw 5.2 come out, and I was like, that looks awesome, but I don't have any money, so I won't bother. And then I saw Legion. And as much as I was excited to see the return of Illidan, burning Legion, all the cataclysmic destruction that could be wrought, I also noticed that a few things were included that made me just a little bit worried that Legion might be the last expansion of World of Warcraft. Let's look at the facts. What we've seen so far in the trailer is just simply the Gul'dan, exiled from Draenor, going to set free the Illidan that was imprisoned in our timeline by Maiev after she killed him. At least that's what I'm gathering here. So that's brilliant, in a way, because Illidan's coming back. Hopefully not as our enemy this time. But if you go onto the World of Warcraft website, and you look at the Legion area, you see at the bottom there's a list of characters. And, well, for example, there is a number of references to other Blizzard expansions, a number of references to other things that people were kind of hoping would be in their own thing. So to make it a bit more explicit, because I'm kind of rambling a bit here, they include the Naga, like specifically the Naga form of the Highborn Queen, Lady Ashara. That's worrying, because, as we all kind of guessed from the last time the last WoW expansion was sort of hinted at and whispered, people kept saying things like, the Dark Below! We're gonna get like the Dark Below! And we didn't. We got Warlords of Draenor. But the whole Naga, Neptulon, Under the Sea thing, that was gonna be the Dark Below. Or at least that's what people thought was gonna be the Dark Below. If the Naga are in this, and more specifically a character mentioned who is a direct handmaiden and servant of the Queen of the Naga is mentioned in this, that kind of hints there might not ever be a Dark Below, and that this thing that we're going to fight, this Naga princess, I believe, is actually going to be either as close as we get to, or a preemptive close to, the actual, Deep Below itself. We'll actually end up fighting them, say in a dungeon or a raid or maybe an area, instead of going there ourselves and going under the sea and being like, hell yeah, let's kill some people. That worries me, because I really, really liked the idea of a Deep Below expansion. I was thrilled for the idea of to do more things like you saw in Vashj'ir, like the underwater combat, the underwater mounts. That really excited me. But it looks as if, though it's hard to tell from just the one character we've seen, it looks as if what was going to be parts of the Deep Below is going to be incorporated into Legion. The second one worrying thing is Xavius, the character mentioned specifically on that same webpage, from the Emerald Dream. Now, here's the problem with that. The Emerald Dream was also going to be, at least believed, to be an idea for an expansion. It was thought that we'd go to the Emerald Dream, cleanse it of its corruption, and make everything good and right. But, since in Cataclysm we also happened to make it so that Ysera was perhaps not as powerful as she should have been, since Ysera's the guardian of the Emerald Dream, sort of. That may be why we didn't go there? I'm thinking because of how Cataclysm ended with, once again, Thrall being put up on a magnanimous stage and said, oh, everyone look at Thrall, Thrall's the best, who doesn't love Thrall, everyone loves Thrall, Thrall's the best, cool, yay! With that happening and the Aspects losing all their powers, I think that's probably why we didn't see an Emerald Dream expansion close, but the fact that Xavius is mentioned as a character that will show up in Legion is a possibility that we'll end up cleaning the Emerald Dream out without actually going there in a whole expansion. It's possible that Blizzard thought it may not be fleshed out enough, or it wouldn't make a lot of lore sense. Then again, Blizzard is bringing back Illidan Stormrage, so I don't necessarily think that lore is the biggest concern on their mind right now. Now, it's true that, like the Highborn Naga mentioned in the other character description, it might just be one of those happy little coincidences, and it might just be that, it's not going to be an entire separate expansion just sort of poured into this one to really bulk it out. But I'm thinking it will be, because why would you include the Emerald Dream into a story about the Legion? This is clearly a Legion-themed expansion. Why would you mention the Highborn Naga, and why would you mention the Emerald Dream if you weren't going to at least incorporate elements of them? Now, it could just be a teaser. It could just be a case of like, oh, look at this scary bad guy, you'll be fighting him next time expansion. And that's cool, honestly. It would be really cool if that happened, simply because it means we get to kind of experience the sort of thing we'll be going up against. It might just be Blizzard testing the waters, releasing these ideas to see if people like them, and then sending out the expansion if people do, and never doing it again if they don't. Have it done by someone else, or a hero, or maybe put it in a scenario so people can complete it easier. But the third element that makes me worry that this is the final expansion is, well, Blizzard have said they're going to show us Sargeras. For those of you who don't know, Sargeras is basically the overarching bad guy. It's like Amon is in StarCraft. It's kind of like Diablo is in Diablo. Basically, Sargeras is the Amon of World of Warcraft. Or, I can't think of another example outside of WoW, honestly. Not at the top of my head. And that's worrying, because it should be impossible to kill Sargeras because, we're gonna die. And if you look at the lore, Prophet Velen made a prophecy that Anduin would lead the armies of the Horde and the Alliance together in battle against Sargeras and would lose. Specifically said he would lose. That's not good news. That's the opposite of good news. That's terrible news. It's abysmal news, in fact. So, with that bearing in mind, it sounds like what's going to happen with this expansion is they may try and put every single, rumoured at and thought of idea into a single big package and go, here you go. This is it. We're sending off WoW. Well, don't forget, the subscriber count is at 5.6 million now. That's not good. That's actually pretty bad compared to what it was. They've introduced a mechanic that allows you to buy game time for gold, basically rewarding people who play continuously by giving them more and more and more free game time. And as well as all of this, they seem to be drifting further and further and further away from a simple subscription model and into more things like microtransactions and bartering game time for currency in-game and stuff like that. It really does seem that WoW is moving away from its traditional subscription model and instead moving towards a more sort of biased free-to-play, I think. Encouraging people to spend in-game money on in-game time instead of focusing solely on spending real money on that time. It seems to be the way that Blizzard is moving forward, is trying to sort of gauge the popularity of everything. It's trying to figure out where to stand, because let's face it, WoW is nearly 11 years old. Nearly 11 years old, and it's starting to show. There's only so much the engine can do before it becomes obsolete. And to be fair, WoW's done a really good job of making even the modern stuff look pretty damn impressive. I mean, you nearly have to look at Blizzard cinematics to know Blizzard is still a really damn fine gaming studio. But if they send off World of Warcraft with Legion and they have us fight and defeat Sargeras, well, that's it. There's nothing bigger than Sargeras other than possibly the Old Gods, who we're not really mentioned at. And because I don't want to spoil it right now, because I was hoping of saving it for a later video, as far as I know, there are only, 2 Old Gods we could maybe fight? I think 2? Maybe 1, but I'm pretty sure 2, and one of them is in the ocean. The Dark Below expansion rumoured to have happened. And that's where the Naga are coming from. So there might be another Old God in this expansion, and to be fair, there hasn't really been one since Pandaria. As far as I know, there isn't any in Draenor. and there was quite a few in Cataclysm, but there wasn't any in the Burning Crusade. But that's about it. There's been one in at least every other expansion since. It's a typical trademark of the Blizzard series to say, oh look, the old gods did it. And, it's a bit of a cliche, but I've heard worse ones. So, in conclusion, I'm really starting to worry that Legion is the last expansion for WoW. And you might think, well, surely it's not a problem. It's really old. It's been going around for ages. So what? Maybe they'll make another one. Yeah, they might make another one. It's not impossible, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Like, there are people who have spent thousands of dollars on World of Warcraft. People who have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours invested in this huge world of Warcraft. To say goodbye would feel a bit bittersweet, honestly. I'm hoping what they'll do, if they do say that Legion is the last one, I'm hoping what they'll do is they'll just go, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to finish it off, we're going to release the last patch, then we're going to make it free to play. And we're going to leave it out there, we're going to keep supporting it, we're going to fix any bugs we find, but for the most part, WoW will just stay a free to play game that earns us money. Subscriptions will become optional, you'll be able to buy more time for currency as you can do now. Basically, it will just become a free to play old game that, that might make people move away, but then again, it might attract more people. Or Blizzard will go free to play anyway after we buy the expansion. It'll be like, right, here's what we're going to do. If you subscribe, you get a bunch of extra cool stuff, and if you don't, well, you don't. It's probably because I'm feeling that Blizzard is starting to lose money on WoW. Well, it not so much lose money as in that they're making 50% of the profit that they were at its peak. Now, to be fair, its peak was a few years ago now, but even so, that ain't good. That ain't good figures. Those ain't good figures. You don't want to start losing huge chunks of money. It's becoming like what's the word? It's like a resurging peak. Like, new expansion is released, tons of people swarm back. Then people play the expansion for a bit, get bored, stop, and then it dips down to lower than it was before. Hopefully, Legion won't be the last WoW expansion, or if it is, it's the expansion that makes everyone happy, turns everyone into this sort of really pleased person who can look back and say, you know what, that was great. And I'm hoping that will be the case, because the alternative is that, well, WoW dies. And honestly, as someone who's played WoW for 2-ish years, who spent thousands and thousands of hours and tons of weekends just playing and enjoying myself, well, I think it would be a bittersweet goodbye.